Welcome to the practice of being seen. I'm your host, Rebecca Wong, relationship therapist and founder of Connectfulness. I believe that when you truly see yourself, you create a ripple effect that allows you to be the change you wish to see in the world. And that invites everyone around you to do the same. In these curated discussions, I invite you to make space to see yourself. But here's a little warning. The practice of being seen might lead to deeper intimacy, less fear, and more creative, bold action. Are you ready to deepen your practice and be seen? This week, I sat down with Lizzy Russinko, lifelong status quo disruptor, hand lettering artist, and writer at This Unscripted Life, coach at Retreat Roadmap, and founder of The Brave Gatherers, a community for soulful, message-driven business owners who are ready to harness the power of intimate connection and make in-person events an integral part of their work. Lizzy believes that people everywhere are craving in-person connection, and retreats and workshops are an incredibly powerful way to elevate your voice, grow a flourishing community, and have your huge, one-of-a-kind impact on this world. With a professional higher education background and 20-plus years of experience in successful heart-centered event planning, she is obsessed with holding space for the message-bearing facilitators of brave conversations around topics such as wellness, self-care, social justice, inclusive leadership, creative sisterhood, body positivity, and sacred living. Her one-on-one, group, and DIY programs give you a simple framework for creating meaningful and profitable retreats and workshops, cultivating long-lasting connection to your work, satisfying the cravings of your community, and inspiring the confidence to carve out a unique space for your business and live event landscape. When people gather together in in-person spaces, magic happens in a way that can't happen in online spaces. Although these gatherings can take many forms, the thing that unites them is the energy that everybody feels when they're there. Whether you're somebody who holds amazing gatherings or you're somebody who just loves to attend them, I really believe that this conversation with Lizzy is an important one for us to be having. I adore Lizzy, and I really feel that she is such a creative, brave change maker in our world, and the in-person gatherings that she inspires so many to hold themselves is exactly what I think this world needs more of. So without further ado, here's the show. Lizzy, I am so deliciously excited to talk to you today.
Yay, I love that word. That's one of my faves. Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Oh my God. I feel like you're with me like every day. I don't know if you realize that, but through your so you have like a few different businesses, a few different things you do.
I do.
And one of them is This Unscripted Life. And you create this beautiful, flowy, hand-lettered artwork. And I have pieces of yours in my office. And my favorite one is right by my door where my clients walk in, which is a big sliding glass. It's a big sliding glass door. So you have this view of the outside right next to it, like the entire time. And it's right above my little station where I serve tea and water and stuff like that. So it's a place where people go. And it says, slow the fuck down. And I point to it often in my sessions. Like, it's my motto. It's my reminder. It's my, hey, clients, slow the fuck down.
Right.
So you embody my office. And I just wanted to let you know that, I feel like you're here with me all the time. And now we get to talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love that. I love that. So just a quick, that piece actually, I was with my husband and another couple. We were in our living room and we were just sort of jamming on life and the meaning. And we probably were 4 glasses of wine in, I don't even know. And we were getting really deep. And all of a sudden, I'm my husband and I in particular were back and forth. We're what is the secret? The secret is slow the fuck down.
Yeah, it's not just slow down. You need the fuck in there.
Slow the fuck down. Like breathe, watch, feel, take it in. Like
all of it.
Look, see,
sense, all of the senses. Just let them unfold.
Yeah, and so it's funny because it's a motto for us too. You know, in our daily lives. So I love that you have that in your office. That lights up my heart.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's been with me for, I don't know, like 3 years now. And it's definitely like, it's one of the pieces that will probably never leave, although it might need a really special new frame one day.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah. Thank you for being in my space like that, for bringing your artwork forth. And, you know, I think one of the other, there's so many things I love about you, and I have had the pleasure of knowing you in a few different ways.
I wish you could see my face right now.
Yeah.
Just because I wish I could too. I'm like lighting up the room with like a big smile.
Oh, it's mutual. I'm like ear to ear. Like my face is actually starting to hurt from smiling right now. But one of the ways that I have gotten to know you is as a retreat leader. Yeah. You have led retreats, and you now help guide people into leading retreats. Mm-hmm. And I have it's one of the ways I feel so blessed to know you. I've been able to be a part of one of your retreats many years ago. Mm-hmm. And now sit with you and host my retreats, and we get to sit and jam and talk about, like, you know, all the pieces of that in different ways. And I'm just so grateful for the work that you bring into the world on so many levels. Your work is beautiful. I mean, literally beautiful to look at, and also beautiful to experience. And there's a depth and meaning behind it.
Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful compliment, especially coming from someone like you, who's, you know, well, I told you earlier, but whose work I am so incredibly inspired by. So I, doing this retreat work, doing this gathering work is something I realized that I've been doing most of my life. You know, have kind of like...
What do you mean? Like tea parties in your bedroom kind of thing?
Well, okay. So most of my life, meaning, so I've always been a movement maker and a disruptor. You know, so when I was in high school, I was a zine creator, and I often did like anonymous zines that I would paste and put together, you know, cut up and paste and put together in my basement, and like photocopy on my dad's photocopy machine, and just kind of like spread around the school, just to kind of put my messages out there of, you know, we don't have to sort of follow anyone else's path. And, you know, what are we wasting our time doing such and such with? Or why does everybody give a shit what they're wearing, you know, to the prom or whatever? And by the way, I wore angel wings and devil horns. And
of course you did. That makes so much sense. You're the everything, the both.
I've got to send that picture. But yeah, totally. Embodying, you know, the wholeness of us, and in a very literal and artistic way. But yeah, so, you know, I would say in high school we had, there was construction going on in our auditorium, and people were getting sick. And it was like, oh, well, you know, it just is. It's not, you know, all this bronchitis it just is. And so I and a couple other people actually organized a walkout and shut down my 5,000 person high school for a week ended up shutting down my 5,000 person high school for a week while they completely stopped construction and resumed in the summer when there weren't going to be people in the building.
Okay, so this like just really sets the tone of who you are and how you embody life, which I totally love. Because one of the things that like I have really gotten to know about you is that we can be bold change makers in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And so Right. So that was one of my first experiences of like, oh my goodness, like I can
You have a voice, you have power, you can organize things. Yeah.
Yes, I can make a bunch of phone calls and get people riled up and like bring paper for signs. And I can have over 5,000 people leave a building and take them down Broad Street to the superintendent's office and sit in a meeting with, superintendent and directors and everybody, and they will then react to the power of the freaking people saying like, we're not okay with the number of people who have bronchitis. We're not okay with, our pregnant teacher not being able to breathe. Like, and so it was such a powerful experience for me and foundational for me.
And it didn't stop there.
No. Not at all. So I have always, I guess, been sensitive to injustice. And what's interesting is I never even I never really connected myself with that word until I was in college. I was an RA. And we were having discussions about like staff placement and who our staff was going to be and da 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 da. And I felt very strongly that my staff needed to reflect my community, and I didn't feel as though I had, a diverse enough staff for my community. And I fought tooth and nail on this issue. And I remember this super fierce, like feminist, like social justice woman coming up to me and being like, Lizzy, I just have to tell you that I don't know if you realize that one of your deepest values in this life is justice. And I was like, oh, I don't know that I did ever really like take that word and recognize it as such a huge part of my value system.
What is that? So I have like 3 questions in my head and I'm trying to like slow down to ask them all. Because the first thing I wanted to say is like, well, what does that word justice mean to you? And then I wanted to slow down and say, okay, wait, you like meditate on words. Like this is part of your art. Mm-hmm. And it's how you like sit with something, which I think is like a whole nother part of this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's so many layers to this conversation,
which is what I love about it. Right. Yes. But so I'm kind of sitting with like my knowledge of you and how I know for you that hand lettering is something that you're self-taught in. And it's also your meditation. Yeah. You sit with letters, you sit with words. And so I'm thinking about that and I'm thinking like, okay, I want to know what justice means to you, but I also have the sense that you have sat with that.
Yeah. So one of the ways that I have experienced life is journaling. And so I have probably at this point, like 160 or so journals that I started writing really as soon as I could form letters. So I have little books where I still thought that I had to write, or I didn't understand how to space words. So I would put a dash in between words so that
my
I could
kids
see
do
that they were separate. Really? I love that. Okay. So this is around when I started journaling.
Love it.
Yeah. And that became and still is so central to how I function is actually putting pen to paper, actually physically expressing myself on paper through words, and often it not even being, not being like word after word after word, but like one word. Yeah. And doing interesting things with those words and lists and just explorations of like the shape of letters and how the shapes of letters change how I feel about a word. And so, I've been doing that for 30 plus years. And a few years ago, I wasn't sharing any of it because it felt like, I don't know, I just have sort of always these feelings of like whatever I make or do is not really good enough or like worthy of being shared with the world.
Wait, you have those feelings?
Oh my God.
I have those feelings.
Oh my God, please. It's like my, oh God. Daily struggle.
Oh my God. I think it's a human struggle. I don't think it's just us.
It is. I think it is a human struggle. And, so I didn't know that what hand lettering was. I didn't even know it was a thing. I knew there was calligraphy. I knew there was graffiti. I knew there was, typeface. Like I knew there was a variety of ways of making words, but I always thought the way that I did them was just kind of weird. And even though I appreciated it in and of myself, like my weirdness, it wasn't really something that I wanted to share with anybody or thought that anyone else would appreciate. And so a few years ago...
You hadn't met me yet, though.
I know, I hadn't, yes. So, I mean, long story short, long story longer. I was pregnant with my first child. I left my long-standing career in student affairs and higher education. I lost my father all within like a 4-month period. And that sort of spun me into a place of really like, F this. Like this is my one life as I know it to just be who I am and share what I am. And it's funny because, you'd look back at me and sort of the trajectory of my life. And I spent probably 12 or 13 years with like flaming green or blue or red hair. And so you wouldn't think that I would ever say like, I'm not, following my, or I'm not being authentic to myself, or I'm not following my true path, but because I always have been, but I knew there was more, and I knew there were things that I was hiding and things I wasn't sharing. And there continue to be things that I'm hiding and not sharing and maybe feel shame around. But at that moment it was, I express myself through words, I express myself through letters, and I'm not sharing it. And so that night, it was late November, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, what am I saying? 5 years ago.
More than that.
And yes, 5 years ago, sorry. And I said to myself, like, this is it. I have to share this. And so I took a photograph of the most recent thing that I had done, which was, it was a little doodle on a piece of paper. It said, it was white ink on blue paper. And it said, she believed she could, so she did, which is something, we see all over the place. Mm-hmm. But it really felt like it embodied, for some reason I just did. It was like a nap time drawing that I did. And I was like, I'm sharing this.
Just to pause, nap time meaning your kids were napping.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. It was my let me think, my few-month-old daughter. Yeah. So, and I was like, this has to happen. And so I shared it. And all of a sudden, I shared it on Facebook, and all of a sudden my Facebook was sort of flooded with people. Can I buy that? Can I buy that? Oh, I want to buy that too. I want to buy that. I want to buy that. I was like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean you want to buy that? Because I didn't even have any understanding like how to turn that piece of paper into something that could even be purchased. Right. And then I also, my other thought was,
this was just something you were doing for you. This was your own form of expression.
Yes, it was like no intention of creating, a hand lettering studio around this, around myself. And it just sort of took off from there. And so I sold, I connected with a mentor who took me under her wing and taught me about, printing and about preparing files to be printed and how to do cards and how to do art prints and, all the different decisions. And that was that. And then just kept making them. And then people kept saying, oh, I want that one too. And I would say, okay, cool. I'll figure that one out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there were so many pieces for you to figure out, but simultaneously while you were doing this, you were doing other things too.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. My journey is messy, but
I like messy journeys. I find that they're so much more real.
Yeah, messy, complicated. I'm multi-passionate like so many of us. I have so many things that I am excited about and that I'm, dare I say, good at.
Damn, yeah.
And it's hard to, to focus in and say, I'm just going to be doing this, this, and this. However, I have over the last few years, as I've dabbled post-career in creating my own businesses, I have been able to really distill my message and distill my purpose into a really focused area now, which I'm incredibly excited about.
Okay, let's go there. Let's talk about it.
Okay, cool.
What do you feel that your purpose is now?
Well, so I am, dare I say, obsessed with
that would be a good word.
Yeah. With empowering, helping, guiding, mentoring, leading the way showing for message-driven, soulful business owners, I'll say business owners who want to make intimate, in-person gatherings a part of what they offer in their business. I see so many people having brave conversations in their businesses. Their businesses are not about, for so many of us, our businesses are not just about, paying the bills. They're because there's a message inside of us that is like that fire in our belly that just burns, and we need to share what it is that we have to say, whether it is, related to the stories that we've seen, the story that we are,
the stories we tell ourselves.
Yes. And there are so many people who want to make in-person gatherings a part of how they reach people. And how I got to all of this was we said earlier, right? I've been gathering my whole life. My first women's weekend that I planned was in college, my second year of college my first year of college, in 1997. I planned our annual women's conference at Douglas College at Rutgers University. And so that was my first sort of 3-day women's weekend. And that was 20 years ago.
You started with a 3-day? That was your start? Okay.
I know. And what's funny is now I am obsessed with telling people, start with 1 day. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't get complicated. You do not need to go to Bali or, the Rocky Mountains or a cabin in, Peru. You can plan transformative, powerful, life-changing in-person retreats and workshops in 1 day where you are with people who are in proximity to you. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I love the idea of, taking people all over the world. And I love the idea of expanding, into other spaces. But I also think that can be a place where people get caught up and where they stop, where they feel like they're not good enough, or where they feel like they're not experienced enough, or they don't have a big enough name, or, all of these things, that roadblocks that people put in their way.
I want to just scream yes. I'll just share this with our listeners, is that, in less than the past year, in the past Well, last March, I think it was, I held a retreat in my home. And then in August, I held a local retreat that was less than an hour from my home at a beautiful retreat center. But these, I don't have to go far to offer these amazing experiences. Like literally one of them was in my home. I cooked half the food. You can have these kind of amazing events without having to go anywhere for them.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like we think like magic is somewhere else. That like there's a sacredness of other places. And, we are the magic,
We are.
There's this understanding of certain places having vibrational energy, right? And one of the things over the last year that my husband and I have been saying to ourselves is we carry the vibration.
Just say that again.
We carry the vibration. And to me, that is so guiding in all of this because, what do we need? We need a place. We need to tell our people, to tell our community, and then we need to bring our heart, bring our message, bring our vibration, and create that together. We do not need to go off to anywhere else. We need to be where we are in ourselves and bring that to the people who need us, and whose lives can be transformed by that in-person connection with us and with others.
So interesting. The thing that is resonating for me right now, the voice that I'm hearing as you're speaking, like that there's this little voice inside of me that's just screaming and saying, because we are good enough.
Yes. 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 And so what's interesting is so much of this work that I'm doing, a lot of it is, reminding people that logistically you can do it. And if you feel like you're overwhelmed by that, I can help you. The logistics are, they can be a pain in the butt, but they're totally doable. And once you have the logistics down, then you have a model from which you can go each time. And then all you have to worry about is bringing that heart, bringing that message, bringing that energy, bringing that vibration, taking people on a journey, and knowing
showing up
that
for it,
showing up and knowing that you're good enough. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think so many people are called, feel like that calling to gather people in person. And it's the, not big enough, not good enough, not knowledgeable enough, not, what would I do with people for that long? How would I this? Da, da, da. And those are all just roadblocks to stop ourselves. And people are needlessly missing out on the things that we could offer them if we said yes.
Let's talk for a minute about why we need these in-person gatherings in this era of information and technology.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. We need to get, I love the internet. Okay. I love the fact that it connects us globally in ways that, at least it connects us globally to others who are privileged enough to have access to it.
Thank you for adding in the privilege. I think it's important we recognize that.
Totally. Because when people talk about, we're all connected in this global, well, no, we're not. Because, yes, it is a privilege to have access to free internet, or the internet in general. So that's a whole other conversation. Rebecca, I love the internet. And I'm so grateful to it for who it's connected me to and how it allows me to reach people. But especially right now, more than ever, I was in student affairs in higher ed, and students are losing the ability to have in-person conversations, to connect energetically with others, and that's where the magic is, right? The magic isn't in, Facebook threads where like people are, just sort of sharing what they have to share and boldly, and without consequences, battling it out. A whole other possibility of connection and support is possible in physical spaces. A lot of this for me started around my motherhood journey. So I'm a very social person. I love being around other people. It gives me energy. It inspires me. And I also need a lot of my alone time, let's be honest. I'm an ENFP. So I'm, I guess, the most introverted of extroverts. is my understanding of us. But anyway, so I thrive on that connection and community. My final position was assistant director in residential life at Temple University. I was responsible for leadership initiatives, diversity and social justice initiatives, crisis response, and upper class experience. And what is all of that about but community building? It's about figuring out like how to help people feel connected to each other and how to help people feel connected to the institution and the mission of the institution. And so when I left that career in community building, essentially, and I was also part-time faculty in women's and gender studies. But so when I left that career, and became a mom, I didn't know any other moms. I was alone, a few hours from my family in Philadelphia. We're from North Jersey. And I realized that I was going to have to find new community, and I was going to build that community because that's, what I know how to do. And so I got into an amazing play group, actually, with a few other moms that was very regular and it ended up being a very safe, comfortable, open space. We all had sort of different perspectives and journeys, but it was one of those little groups of people that it really worked. And one of the women that I met there, we decided to start, she had some background in event planning, and so we decided to start an organization called Inspired Family, Mindful Parenting. And it was a community and conference series. So the first conference we did, this is the first year of my daughter's life. So the first conference we did.
You went big.
We did. We had over 45 expert sessions in 4 different tracks. We had a vendor hall of about 50 vendors. So Carla Nahlberg was our keynote speaker, and, we had over 300 people in attendance. It was an incredibly successful and exciting event.
Delicious. And how the heck did you pull that off for your first event?
Because it was part of what I did in my work. I planned these, couple week-long summits for all of the professionals in student affairs at Temple. And I did, the Inclusive Leadership Conference, which I think we had, 700 or so people. And so I was used to planning these larger scale events. But I was also used to planning smaller trainings and, international service experiences. I used to take a group of students to Costa Rica and, just staff meetings of 4 or 5 people, or trainings with, 10 people. And so through this journey of doing this huge conference, I actually am sitting here looking at it, but afterwards, we're in the throes of planning the second one. And the woman that I was working with decided that she didn't want to continue doing that work anymore. Mm-hmm. And I had already started this Unscripted Life and was doing my hand lettering. And this was sort of the other piece for me was, this was the physical in-person community, way to express my purpose. And so I knew, though, that I could not pull off that level of event as just me, and still feel good about my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my children. Or actually, I was pregnant at the time with my second.
You do know that you're like calling my own story into this, right? Like I'm feeling a lot of resonance with your story.
Yes. Yeah. So I knew that I just felt that I couldn't do it on my own. Yeah. And so I vision boarded. What do we do? What do we do when we're unsure?
Yeah. We go back to the vision.
Yes, we go back to the vision. And so the center of my vision board is one of my first She Believed She Could, So She Did prints. And then it sort of petals out. And the one petal is This Unscripted Life and Inspired Family. And under This Unscripted Life, I wrote, let your faith be stronger than your fear. Just continue to do that work.
That is so holding. Let your faith be stronger than your fear. Mm-hmm. I mean, for all of us, right? Like, and dear listeners, like I'm really talking to you, but for all of us, we all have these moments of I'm not good enough. I'm so afraid of, I'm going to fail. I can't, go on and on and on about all the reasons why we put up obstacles. But when your faith is stronger than your fear, well, like that just takes all those obstacles down, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or at least gives you a place of holding of yourself.
To come
back to say, okay, one of my other favorite mantras of late is, do you like Lisa Nichols? Do you follow her?
I don't know who she is.
Oh, I love her. Oh, you will love her. She's so good. But one of her things is leap afraid. And just sort of that knowing of the fear may never go away.
I don't think fear is supposed to go away. I feel really strongly about this, but I feel that fear guides us. It's part of the directionality of our lives. When we are on that edge of fear, it's probably telling us that we're on the edge of greatness.
Yep.
You can't have one without the other.
Absolutely. And so that was sort of, that was where I held myself with This Unscripted Life. And with Inspired Family, I wrote deep, meaningful, smart, inclusive, intimate, thoughtful, brave. And the other piece I have is be brave enough to start conversations that matter. And so it's funny, but that was the third quote I ever shared on my This Unscripted Life Instagram account. Be brave enough to start conversations that matter. And I mean, it's another guiding.
Is that a you quote, or is that somebody else?
No, it is not. And I am going to find out for you who it is, because right now don't remember. Wheatley. It's Martha Wheatley.
Martha Wheatley. I just quoted her earlier today. She also says, "You can't hate somebody whose story you know."
Yes, I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm pretty sure it is. Yep, it is. It's Margaret. Sorry, Margaret Wheatley.
Margaret Wheatley. Yeah.
So be brave enough to start a conversation that matters. And, I've never been one to really enjoy talking about what and this is, So I grew up without television. I grew up in a household that was very much about, either you read or you play. Make something, draw something, build something, read something, but you're not watching television. And so my father was a glass artist. My mom was an educator. And so I just grew up with this sort of perspective of a conversation matters and communicating about things that are important matters, or deep or beautiful or interesting, or and just a love of talking about things that matter. And when I say that, it's the juiciest, deepest, most raw, interesting.
It's the stuff that gets underneath your skin and makes you feel alive.
Yes. And we started talking about this earlier, but there are so many people who are starting these brave conversations, whether it is about, the way that we treat our bodies with nutrition, fitness, whether it's about self-care and, mothers needing to know that it is okay to take care of themselves, that it is a must that they take care of themselves. Whether it is conversations around racial justice, or, inclusive, culturally conscious leadership, or how we can use creativity to deepen our lives and our presence.
There's no way that we can be actionable in our lives without being creative, though. I think that is everything that you have described in your own journey that you have made, produced, achieved, the ways you've brought people together. These are all creative actions that you have taken. The creation and the action are one and the same.
And which is why, honestly, I've finally allowed myself to call myself an artist, because I am. Everything I do is creative work. And I venture to guess that if most of us actually paused and looked at ourselves, like, we are creators, we are artists in this life, and allow ourselves to be that.
There's an interview I did recently with Jeffrey Davis, and he calls everybody business artists. You know, and he talks about this journey of tracking wonder, that so much of what we do in business and in life is we want to find that awe-inspired place. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Recently, over the last few months, actually, we just moved from my husband, my two young children, they're 3 and 5, and we just moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. So we were just outside of Philadelphia, and now we're in Northern California. And we don't know anybody out here. We don't have family out here. My husband got a really interesting career opportunity, and we decided it was time for a family adventure. And in our vision board, because of course we did a vision board for...
You have walls of vision boards, don't you? You have like a whole room full of vision boards.
Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I do. Okay, sorry. I was
joking. You're for real.
I am. Well, actually, it's funny. Right now, I'm in my office, and on one side I have my Brave Gatherers vision board, and on the other I have my This Unscripted Life vision board. And then behind me, I have just sort of my wall of inspiration. But so to go back to the California vision board, the center of it was a piece that I did a while ago. It's a Henry Miller quote. It says, "To make living itself an art, that is the goal." And that has been, another sort of guiding bit of words for us, to make living itself an art. During this transition from coast to coast, during our, finding of new community and, carving out a space for ourselves to live and to play and to work and to enjoy, that it is all a work of art. That parenting, that our relationship, that our interaction with, the natural world here, that it is our art.
Yes.
you know? So yeah, I mean, we are all sort of artists. We are all creators. And I believe in that, the power of in-person energy as a part of our creation.
Can we talk for a minute about the power that comes from those in-person gatherings? I mean,
Yeah.
I know that I've experienced it on multiple levels. One of the first retreats that I had the privilege of facilitating a piece of at was one of your retreats, the Mindful Mama retreat. And that was like 3-4 years ago? I can't remember when it was. It was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
And then I have been leading some of my own retreats since then. And these are powerful experiences of gathering people together. Can you talk a little bit? I know this is your passion now. This is what you do. You guide and mentor others in holding gatherings of their own. So what are you finding are the biggest takeaways that people are having in their retreats?
Well, I think one is that people, once they've finished their first one and they are, they realize what it can be, and I guess walk away on that high, on that connection high. There's almost like okay, when can I plan my next one? Because this is amazing and I need to do this again. I think that, there's, I've seen a deeper connection between not, because we have a Facebook community for our, every time we have a retreat, specifically when I partner with my colleague Sheila Pai of A Living Family, we have a Facebook community where everyone is sort of placed into, and that continues to grow each time we have a retreat. And the offline connections that continue to grow and flourish is incredible to watch. And so we utilize technology to stay in communication regularly, but then there is that ability to also regularly connect in person to people that they never would have connected with. And, having become a safe container for multiple people to unfold into divorce, in, losing of family members, children, having new babies, welcoming new babies, moving, and being able to always come back to this group of people that they went on this journey with, because it's the place they feel safest.
Yeah.
Like regularly someone says, I'm coming here because this is where I feel the most safe. And that is from having this one day journey that they shared with these other women.
It's a shared experience. It's an in-person shared experience. Yeah. And transformation. Yeah. I mean, there's something that happens at these gatherings, the ritual of them, I'm struck just thinking that this is what our society in many ways is lacking, is communities gathering together. People holding each other up, this is the stuff that, yeah. I mean, we're so separate but there's this energy of not wanting to be anymore. And that's what I'm excited about is, there is this desire to connect. It's this rising energy. I think that in many ways, I think is women rising and saying like, we don't need to follow this old paradigm anymore.
this is old stuff. We're creating something new here. And in that creation of something new, a new way of being and communicating, and I believe that in-personness is crucial. It's where we find our deepest power and our deepest presence and our deepest connection. I also think, right? So there's all these amazing, like, poetic ways to think about why this is important, but just to get even really practical about it, say you are an online business owner who does transformative work, transformative message driven work. I feel like I will connect more deeply with someone who also offers in-person experiences, because I can see photographs of them interacting with people in person. I can know from that they value intimacy, that they value every single individual, that I'm not a number to them coming into their course or coming into their funnel or coming into their webinar and filling up the room. I am a human. I am a valued member of their community, of their work. And I know that because they also offer in-person experiences. And it takes someone special to honor that and to do that.
I love that. Because it is so much. It's these in-person experiences, the amount of energy they take to pull off. You could make a buck offering them, but that's not why I do them. For me, it's a place to gather with my community and touch each other deeply, like whether it's an emotional or a hug, but there's something about these in-person experiences that just really let us know each other, to sense each other, to experience one another in a way that I don't think we could ever experience without being in the same room as.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And just the transformations that for example, a woman who came to one of my retreats, she wasn't somebody that I knew or that, my co-facilitator knew or anyone else knew. She didn't have any connections in the room. And, she came in and sat in the corner and put her hair in front of her face and was very closed off. Everyone who walks in the door, I give them a hug. I know their name. I've handwritten it a billion times because, we do all kinds of personalization. And to me, a guiding principle for me in the planning of my retreat experiences is that every single person feels and knows that they are valued, that we were waiting for them to come, that the day would be incomplete without them, that they're an essential part of that day and that journey and that experience. And I want them to feel that way from the moment they sign up till after they leave. That there is a seat, a space for them, and that I'm holding it, and that I'm welcoming them, and that they belong. That there's a sense of belonging. And so it was, it's on my heart to bring her into the experience beyond just sort of physically being in the room.
Right.
And we had a session where we wrote a bit about the things that were holding us back, our limiting beliefs and experiences. And so we went outside to the fire pit to burn them. And one woman went and shared something, incredibly traumatic about her life. And the woman that had been sitting in the corner and not said a word really, or looked at anybody, took her step forward and shared that she was connected to that woman's story, not just in her past, but more recently with a similar trauma. And they both actually all of us, I mean, there was 30 of us, were all, bawling, burned their papers together, walked back hand in hand. And I have to tell you, the rest of the day, the woman who was in the corner with her hair in her face was talking to everybody and laughing and smiling and telling stories, and all of a sudden came alive.
Yeah. That's the in-person experience.
I mean, it was a shift that we literally watched, oh my God.
I love those shifts. I really do.
Yeah. And I'm sure you have many stories of your own, of people that you've worked with and experiences that you've had.
Oh my God. I have, for everybody that I have worked with, I have a story, and right. I will hold those stories in confidence, but those moments are the moments that keep me wanting to do more. When I just held a retreat in August at Menla Mountain Resort for a group of therapists, and more than half of the folks in attendance asked me to hold another retreat for them with their partners. So this would be a group of therapists who are coming to do some visioning and bringing their partners, because you can't really vision without including your significant other. So that retreat's probably coming. We're already talking about planning it now. But this is how things happen, right? Because people have an experience and then they want more experience. And so they tell you and guide you and say, this is the experience I want more of. So yeah, I'm now in the process of planning that one.
Oh, I love that so much. And I think you're bringing up something that's so important, because so just in terms of, I see people, so sometimes people come to me and they don't even have a business, but they know they want to plan a retreat, which is 100% fine. But you've got to know why. Okay, you have to know why you're planning a retreat, and you have to know who you're planning it for.
Yes.
You have to know, or a workshop or a circle or a gathering, you have to know why you are doing it and who you are doing it for and why it matters to them.
The intention is so important.
Yes, because the reality is, if you don't know those things, you will not be able to sell.
If you don't know those things, you're throwing it for yourself.
Yes.
And that's okay. But own that. Maybe even call that in and say, I'm throwing it for people like me who are looking for.
Right. But then that is your audience. And then that is the why. But getting really clear on that. And I help people do that through, specifically for retreats, I help people do that. But, go on that journey of, okay, why do I want to do this? What is this really about for me? In those really deep ways, and then in those really broad, practical ways. Maybe it's you want to be a speaker, you want to be in the speaker circuit, but you need really awesome photographs of you speaking to a group of people. Well, awesome. So you can get that at the retreat you're planning. So there can be really practical reasons why planning retreats and workshops and gatherings is going to be beneficial to you in your business. But then there's also those, deep in the gut, fire in the belly reasons. And both of them really kind of need to be there. And then the figuring out like that who and why they want to come and why it matters to them. And why they're going to want to invest in this experience with you, and listening, like you're doing, listening to your community, listening to what their needs are, getting them excited about it. They're almost in some ways a co-creator, right?
Oh, so much.
They're telling you, like, this is what I want. And I think that's when some of the most beautiful work and experiences can happen.
I so agree with you. I'm so excited for what you're bringing into the world. Oh, I just want more and more and more of you.
I have to tell you, Rebecca, I'm on like daily fire with excitement.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
So Lizzy, where can our listeners find you? Where do you want them to find you?
Yeah. Well, so they can find me at thebravegatherers.com. And there they can get connected to, you guys can get connected to our community of both new and seasoned gatherers, access to our Brave Conversations interview series, which is going to be coming up, which I'm so excited about. And Rebecca is actually going to be a guest. But so one of my, visions for this is to really have some beautiful conversations with people who are doing gathering work and, really talking about why you're doing this work, who you're doing it for, but then also, what are some snags that you've hit and what are some of the craziest things that have happened and how can new gatherers learn from maybe mistakes you've made or challenges that you've had or, things that didn't quite go as planned or ways that you think this is the key to, having a successful, sold out, transformative event. And so I'm really excited about that conversation series. There's really interesting and diverse group of people that I'm going to be having some conversations with. And then some done for you and some DIY resources. I have
so good.
What?
It's so good.
Yeah.
Conjured Rob Bell there for a minute.
So I have a readiness workbook where you can really, go through and kind of really figure out am I ready for this kind of experience? How do I get ready to start planning my first or my next or my first really successful? And, template kits and all that kind of goodness. And then always a monthly hand lettered art print. So, which, is downloadable for your phone, for your tablet, which is printable for your wall, and then which is a social media graphic, because I love letters and I love words, and because this is how I tie my lettering into everything that I do, because I have to. Yeah, so thebravegatherers.com. And then from there, you can find me. I'm a huge Instagram lover. So if you're super interested in my hand lettering, you can find me at this_unscripted_life on Instagram. And that's my favorite place to share my lettering. And then you can also find me at retreatroadmap.com. And that's where you'll find my mini course and opportunities to do some one-on-one work, as well as access to the community.
Thank you so much, Lizzy. We'll include all of your links in our show notes.
Yay.
So folks can just go ahead and click on through.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you again for coming on and joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love talking to you. I love your voice. I love your energy. I love your work. And I just feel so grateful to have been connected to you and for how our relationship has evolved and unfolded and grown. And I'm just excited for this season in your journey.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being with me. I get so much out of every conversation that we have. So thank you. One of the things that I always think about when I think of Lizzy is that when we gather together, we rise together. And I love the conversations she's bringing into the world. She has an upcoming series called The Brave Conversations that I really encourage you to check out. There'll be a link in our show notes. While we're talking about community, if you're looking for support in cultivating a more sustainable business model, combating isolation, and integrating your story with all of your big visions of worldly and relationship transformation, then I've got something big in the works just for therapists and healers like you. It's the Connectfulness Method mentorship program for therapists and healers. It's a 22-week online program that starts just after Thanksgiving. and culminate with an in-person retreat at the end of April 2018. I would love to have you join us. There's a link in the show notes that you can click to learn more and be one of the first to hear about it when it launches. We'd also love to have you join our free online community over at practiceofbeingseen.com/community. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe, rate, and review the show. It especially helps us if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I'd also love to hear your feedback about this episode and any other. Drop me a line over at practiceofbeingseen.com/feedback. You've been listening to the Practice of Being Seen podcast, which is produced by me, Rebecca Wong, along with the support of my amazing behind-the-scenes team, Nicole Stevenson and Christy Hausler. Music by Chris Ferris, Jr. and Sr., produced by Kidney Stone Studio. We hope that you enjoyed the show and will join us next week for another episode of the Popscast, brought to you by Connectfulness.